Good morning and welcome to Conversations with Annassa. So happy to be with you this morning. So let's begin with meditation. And today we're going to use the mantra, I am that, on the inhale, and on the exhale we'll say, that I am. And by that, we're speaking about that which is just beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And so we'll spend our attention in the space between the inhale and the exhale. So as you inhale, say, I am that, and then you feel into it, and on the exhale, that I am. So we're feeling into that space between the breaths. So take your attention inside, just below your belly button, into your grounding center. Take a deep breath into that center and begin to feel as you say the mantra, I am that I am. And say that for a few rounds while you hold your attention in the center of your belly. And you can practice it in two ways, either with your eyes open or your eyes closed. With your eyes open, you are available to your environment, but you are centered, and you're centered in awareness. So even though your environment is there, your attention is still inside. And it's good to practice this way so that you get used to being inside and available to the outside at the same time. So now drop your attention down to the tip of your tailbone. I am that I am. So your attention can be focused totally inside, but you can include the outside in your awareness by opening your eyes. Or you can stay with them closed if that's more comfortable for you to access deeply in yourself. Now allow your attention to drop down to the center below the earth, the garden star chakra, where we plant our intention of alignment with the all that is, our highest self, and the highest purpose for the whole. So take your attention just below the earth into the garden star chakra and say into that space, I am that. Feel that I am. And as we feel and feel into the space between the breaths, we become aware of I am that. That I am. Continue at your own pace for a few minutes. Gently bring your attention up through the tip of the tailbone, through the abdominal energy center to your heart center. Breathe directly into your heart center. I am that space. Feel that I am space. Feel. Gently take your attention to the center of your head, the third eye behind and between the eyebrows. I am that. That I am. Gently take your attention to the top of your halo, which is where your fingers would touch if you put your arms in a circle over your head. This is the soul star chakra. This is where we are in complete contact with our highest best, and the junction between our highest best and the highest best for the whole. It's just not just in that place, but it's easily accessible from that location. I am that. That I am. Feel and feel into the space between the breaths. And experience the difference of having your eyes open So you are aware of external experience, but your attention is completely inside on your internal awareness. And now use your breath to breathe from the top of your halo to the energy center under the earth and back. I am that. Feel the space in between. That I am. Feel for that energetic movement between the two poles. I am that. That I am. And now just focus on allowing yourself to receive from the universe, the multiverse, that which is in the highest for you, the highest best interest of you, for you, and the highest best interest for the whole. Allow yourself to take that in from a place of ease. You can visualize it as pranic plasma, that which heals every cell in your body, a golden light coming from the heavens into your body. And your job is just to relax and receive. I am that. That I am. And now, before we bring our attention out of this meditation, I'd like you to think of 3 things that you're really grateful for. And now we'll begin our program. Thank you so much for being here. We are so delighted to be with you. How may we serve this morning? So we'll talk a little bit about this practice of being inside and allowing on the outside, so that we begin to cultivate a witness state as we experience our external lives. And from this witness state, having our attention inside, practicing with our eyes open, with our attention inside, we begin to learn to have just a little bit of space between information that's coming in and our reaction to it. And so meditating in this way actually allows us to receive more from the multiverse because we are in an expanded awareness, especially as we identify with I am that, which is the quantum field beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude that we don't have language for, but we certainly have capacity to feel. And so we're feeling and feeling and feeling into that. And as we experience it more and more, we are celebrating and bringing forward that field for the whole of humanity to evolve into the fifth dimension. We are actively participating by bringing ourselves into that field of awareness and learning how to hold that field throughout our daily life. So we celebrate its arrival in every moment of our being. And whenever we feel ourselves get off track, we can take our attention inside, doesn't matter where we are, breathe. I am that. That I am. And the reason we want to say it in that way is because by not repeating the same words in the same order, we encourage our mind to be focused on what we're saying. If we say the same thing over, then our mind starts to do its own dance. But if we reverse it every time, then our mind is participating in the discovery of I am that. And if the mind needs something to focus on, you can tell the mind to look for the boundary of I am that. And please come back and tell me when you find it. So we welcome your questions.
Is it okay to visualize the energy centers as we move through meditation, even if we are not able to feel the movement for each center?
Absolutely. The feeling comes from actually paying attention. The more you pay attention, the more you are awakening your own awareness to what already exists within you. And so what you're doing is you're bringing your attention into cultivating your awareness of I am that. And I am that is the awareness of yourself as pure spirit. Pure light is a better way to think of it. So it's in paying attention to these energy centers, and you begin to feel them. It's not always the same for everyone, but you begin to feel them as sort of centers of gravity that pull your attention. And then you breathe into them and they expand, or they may contract, because our beings are continually responding to information. We are really receivers. We are giant receivers and giant transmitters. But the interesting thing about us is that most of us don't know that. So we're not really aware of what we're receiving, and we're not really aware of what we're transmitting. But as we focus on I am that, that I am, which is the cultivation of the field, which is just beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude, which is the quantum field of the embodiment of, we don't have language, so we can only call it fifth dimensional reality, which is really not language, because what does that mean to anyone? But it is the field that is beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And so in cultivating that field and feeling and feeling and feeling into it in our meditation in each of these energy centers, we are becoming that, which is our way of celebrating the arrival of this awareness into the human collective, which is beginning to rise. We can see it in people's attention to the environment and in the human collective going, we have to do something about climate change. Our institutions are failing us. And as we see this movement arising, the same thing is happening with Black Lives Matter, that people are no longer willing to wait for the institutions to change what we believe to be a just way of living. And so as this movement is arising inside each person, the whole human collective is mobilizing to make this change. And in this dark night of the soul, it is though humanity is bending its knees, taking in the energy, getting ready to leap forward into this new reality. And as we work inside ourselves to cultivate our awareness of I am that I am, we are attracting to us the experience of the field that is just beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And in celebrating those four emotions and bringing them into the forefront of our experience, we all begin to transmit that feeling. As we become more and more aligned with the all that is, which is that groundedness in that which is beyond. Thank you for that question. How may we serve further?
Thank you, and blessings to you.
Thank you.
My question is about for those of us that can see colors and auras and spirits. I wondered if you could share any tools to allow us to stay in that realm longer, or rather than go in and out of those fields, maybe is there any way we're allowed to stay in them longer to be of service, or any tools to help us continue on that path more frequent, if that makes any sense?
So our mission is not to live somewhere else and not to spend our time anywhere else but inside ourselves. So although these visions and lights are very attractive, and we know that's where we're from, and so we want to go there, but the real task at hand is to be here and to bring that here, to bring it through you. So your awareness of yourself as a light being and as a being that's able to absorb and transmit this light is what you are really cultivating. So you want to bring this, allow it to come down totally into you. So you become that light. And then automatically everything, every way that you interact in the world will be informed with that awareness. So it's not so much that we want to be somewhere else or travel in other dimensions. That that is a capacity, and for sure you are doing that during your dream states at night. But in the day, especially at this moment in humanity, which is a real, we are called to be present. And so the way you will serve will involve your intimate awareness with these light fields. So you will be called to serve in that way, but it's very important for you to ground those experiences into third dimensional reality so that you are really participating in the birth of this new world. And this is your calling, is to participate through these frequencies in this reality to awaken others. This is really the calling for all of us, and each of us has a unique prism of frequencies that we radiate the most easily. And as we work deeper within ourselves, our mission, our participation in our own unique way becomes really enlivened, and the skills that we have are brought to bear in this awakening that's happening throughout the human collective. And so it's not that we have to struggle to understand where that is. There's no struggle. There is deepening our practice, and much of our practice is allowing ourselves to be informed by this field of I am that I am, which is just beyond the field of love, peace, joy, and gratitude. It contains all of those, but it is more. And as we are aware of that more, yes, we live from that more, but we live from it by allowing it to inform our total 3D participation in this world, which is a three-dimensional reality at this point. And as we expand our awareness, we are bringing it in to help others so that the entire planet can expand into this awareness, which includes the wholeness of every living being. And so we will begin to live more and more in participation with all of those forces and what they entail. And as we do that, everyone around us will be drawn into participation in their own way, in their own frequencies, because all parts are welcome. And as this begins to manifest, human beings will begin to work as a human collective in communities that serve the whole, rather than a global collective in communities that serve the whole, that work together to save the planet, to really make food abundantly available, very nutritious food that's not based in pesticides and GMOs and all those things, so that we really learn to work and live in harmony with the earth and all the beings on it. All parts are welcome. Just as in our own physical microcosm, all parts are welcome. We welcome all of our emotions, not just the positive ones, because it's actually in cultivating the difficult experiences inside ourselves and bringing them into harmony that we are more and more able to access this field of that which is beyond. The I am that I am field becomes available only as we unwind our emotional triggers and allow them to be diffused, which allows us to move deeper and deeper into our own connection with the all that is. Thank you so much for that question. That was
Thank you so much.
really a great question. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
hope we answered it fully.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. How may we serve further?
And you may have to repeat it. As we are receivers and transmitters, is it similar to Tonglen practice? Yeah, it was Tonglen practice.
Yes. Okay, the question is this: is there more than that?
It feels similar, only without the intention of change, more of an allowing.
Okay, the question is this: is what we did in meditation this morning similar to Tonglen practice? And is our intention, we'll rephrase it a little bit, is our intention as we move into this new reality, is it like Tonglen practice? So first we have to say what Tonglen practice is from our understanding. We are taking this from Rebecca's understanding. This is not a practice that we are intimately familiar with, but we will express it this way, and please correct us if our understanding is limited. So our understanding of Tonglen practice is that you breathe in all the negativity of the entirety of everything, and you breathe out love, peace, joy, gratitude, that which is beyond. We would view this practice as if this is our understanding of what the practice is, and please correct us if that's a wrong interpretation. We much prefer, we will say, that you instead focus on releasing any dissolving, we'll say more than releasing, any pattern inside yourself which tends to trigger you into an emotional state that is less than I am that I am. Because in taking on the negativity outside yourself, you can actually weaken your own energetic structure by taking on that which is not yours to process. Every human being must process their own particular triggers, we'll call them, triggers to emotions which are less than I am that. Every human being must do that personal work to be able to clear the field to participate in the wholeness of that which we are meant to be, our birthright of living in the state of that which is beyond. And when we take on the negativity of others, we are actually depriving them of their own opportunity to do the work, which gives them the strength to be able to manifest within themselves this field of living from that which is beyond. So we do not recommend reaching outside of ourselves to take on negativity because it weakens us and our capacity to participate in the all of the all that is, to build the muscles of deconstructing the triggers within ourselves that take us into states that are less than, and instead put our energy into building ourselves into the beacon of light that we're meant to be, and then informing others of how to do the same. And as we do that, this light of understanding dawns throughout humanity. And so the idea that one person in every 10 billion becomes enlightened is not really true. Enlightenment is becoming the light. And it's because we have been controlled with this matrix of belief that we have to invest in a systems of reward and punishment and, cultivating financial abundance, which is, this agreement that we have that other people create expectations that we have to meet. And so all our attention is outside. That's all a big distraction. So we don't become the light that we are. Because when we become that light, we have the perspective that aligns us with our highest best interests, which are naturally aligned with the highest best interests of the whole. And the idea of being controlled by anyone or anything outside of us becomes really, first of all, not necessary, and secondly, really repulsive, because we don't need that control when we're light. We don't need any control. We just want to participate in making the whole more. And as that becomes our fundamental goal, not only within ourselves, but for the whole, then the idea of doing somebody else's work kind of falls out of the picture, because we understand that it is that which we are able to transmute within ourselves, which builds our muscles for transmuting what we are receiving into the highest that we are transmitting. And that is our true practice. So that's today's understanding of the answer to that question. We welcome any feedback from that question, and are happy to take this deeper if there's further you want to ask. Thank you for that question. It's really, really important. Yes.
Could you talk about the importance or use of going to sacred places or pilgrimage, both in general and in a time where we're traveling and even going outside the house is fraught?
So the question is, what's the value of going to sacred places? And now that that's not possible because we can't travel with ease the way we used to, is it possible to still enter those sacred places in ourselves? So going to sacred places is a way to expand our awareness of other people who have in the past been able to transmute their less than into more and become the energetic, enlightened being that we wish to be. And in these places where that sacred energy exists, we can experience our own selves. We'll use the word pollination, our own selves being pollinated with that energy, which we can then take away to cultivate deeply within ourselves. And it gives us a boost in our practice of alignment with the highest best in ourselves and the highest best in the all of the all that is. And so these sacred pilgrimages are of value because we have that experience that helps us to become more refined transmuters of anything in ourselves that is less than into the field of more. until we become established in that which is beyond, and understand that once established at a new level of that which is beyond, there is more beyond that, and more beyond that, and more beyond that. There is an endless field of exploration as we become available to ever refined states of being, is what we will call states of being. And what is found in these sacred places are states of being that were cultivated to a very high degree by whoever the being was who left their energy in that place, left their field of being. And we know that these fields of being exist in various places across the world. And having been to one, having experienced that, is enough to be aware of the whole. You don't have to go to every single one to be complete. And the truth is, you don't have to go to any of them to be complete, because that completion exists within us already. It's what we're made of, it's where we come from, and it's where we will return to. So it's not necessary to go anywhere. You can sit in the closet of your bedroom and transcend everything, never leaving that site. We hope that answers your question. Helpful, but not necessary. How may we serve further?
To be clear, doing my own work, raising my vibration, is the most powerful way to make a difference for all of us?
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Because in doing that, you become that enlightenment. You become that light which you seek for the whole. And in becoming that yourself, you become a beacon that unites with every other beacon that is happening at this time. And this global human collective movement to reclaim the earth, to reclaim the power of humanity as seeds of enlightenment that can live in a totally different way, with love, peace, joy, and gratitude being the basis of how we make every choice for ourselves and for the whole. This is what we're here for. And so, in cultivating our own awareness of I am that I am, which is the closest we can come to point to that field just beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude, as we become that, we are pollinating every single being that we touch. And it's not just human beings. We notice it in plants, we notice it in how animals respond, we notice it in how everything around us becomes filled with what are called adamantine particles. Adamantine particles are those particles that are transmitted into our environment, which begin to reflect back to us the love that we are. So if you notice around a being who radiates light, that light will go into the plants. For example, if there are flowers around that person, those flowers will also begin to come to life and emit their fragrance in a much more intense way, and their beauty becomes enlivened by that field. That is the adamantine particles that are transmitted by that light being. How did we get there? Thank you for that question. We welcome your questions. How may we serve further?
I actually have a question about your adamantine particles.
Yes.
Is that what happens when we send love and light to, let's say, maybe the ocean, and then a dolphin comes and says hello? Would that be an example?
Certainly. That's an example of alignment. Dolphins respond to love, as do dogs. All animals respond to love. They are already in that field. They never lose connection. It is only human beings who have free will who feel separate. Animals don't have that idea of separation. Never occurs to them.
Were we allowed to
Yeah, sure.
speak to them in a telepathy way, that even though we may not have the same language? I know energy has its own language, but I didn't know if there's another way we could kind of.
We are by nature telepathic. And so the question, we don't know if you can hear the question, but the question is, can we speak to animals telepathically? The answer is yes. If we cultivate that in ourselves, and as we cultivate our alignment deeper and deeper, the first thing that happens is empathy, empathic. We begin to feel what others feel. And that happens first, and then we get very confused about what's ours and what's theirs. And so we have to learn to proactively drop anything that's not ours, so that we are dealing with what's truly ours, not what we've been confused to believe belongs to others. And this becomes really the most important when we begin working on the very, very early childhood memories before we had language. When this matrix of belief came into us, of course, without any of we had no knowledge and information, no maturity about how to take this in, and we had no boundaries. So when we're very young, before we have language, we are completely malleable in terms of our understanding of where we are and what the rules are. And so we take in this matrix of belief in all of its permutations, and we don't understand that there's any difference between us and these beings around us who are informing us of where we are and how to be and what it is. And so we take it in without boundaries, without judgment, without language. We just take in these feeling sensations as though they are ours, and we spend the rest of our lives trying to undo these triggers so we can get back to that state of pure being. And because there's no language associated with whatever, for many of us, insults, dramas, and traumas were imposed on us at that time, not because the beings around us didn't want to take care of us in the highest possible way, they didn't know how. And why that happened is beyond this conversation. But our task in resolving all of that is that it's never, first of all, to understand it's never going to make sense. It's never going to make sense. We cannot go back and say, this is mine and that was his, or this is mine and that was hers. That isn't going to happen. So all we can do is continuously focus our awareness on that which is beyond, and our intention of merging with that which is beyond and releasing anything that is not part of that quest. And if there is something that we need to know from in order to resolve those, we'll call them energetic blocks within us, which are like ice cubes that as we work, they turn to water and finally to steam, gone. So understand that we all have this. We all have parts of ourselves that were informed in not very pleasant ways, that we had arrived in a place that had conflict rather than resolution as its mode of being. And so we must bring that resolution to ourselves by dissolving any disharmony into the harmony of the whole. And in that way, we become an expression of that whole that informs our environment as light, as we become pollinators that inform others around us. And this whole movement expands to the highest best for the whole. Thank you for that question. We hope we answered it.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. Oh, there's a part we didn't answer. So we talked about empathy. And then telepathy begins to emerge as we have resolved many of those frequencies in ourselves. And this doesn't happen in a linear pathway. Some people start out telepathic and later learn empathic. And so this is not a linear progression in any way, shape, or form for any of us. So, and it is our tendency to understand learning as a linear process. All of those rules disappear when it comes to the quantum field. So human beings have, as part of our natural capacity, the capacity to be telepathic with each other, with the animals, with plants, with our entire environment. And that may or may not become part of our skill set, depending on what our unique prism of our blueprint that we agreed on before we came, depending on what that looks like, what our unique contribution to the whole will look like will be determined by that. We have already chosen that. And as we come into alignment, we become more and more that. And that may already have begun to demonstrate itself in the things that we are attracted to in terms of expressing our creativity in the world. And so that is what gives us the guidance to be following our path in alignment. And as that path begins to unfold with ever more clarity, then we know that we are living the life that we are in alignment with. And that alignment is never a limitation. It's always about expansion. So that's how we can tell where our alignment really is that things just begin to flow in a way that we can see that what we're doing is our true purpose, because we have this sense of alignment as we are doing it. So we hope that answers your question further. Thank you so much. How may we serve further?
How do we discern telepathy versus the noise in our own head?
as we become more and more grounded in a state of being, which is that which is beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude, the noise in our head gradually begins to disappear. And when we experience ourselves in stillness, that is an indication that we are experiencing a state of being. And in that stillness, thoughts stop. As we cultivate our awareness of that place more and more, then the truth of being, the truth of knowing begins to arise in us. And these states of awareness explain themselves from inside ourselves. And so it's not exactly that we're cultivating being empathic or being telepathic. We are cultivating being in the highest alignment possible with the whole. And in that alignment, you know, some people experience life as music. Some people experience life as art. Some people experience life as speaking. Some people experience life so as touching, feeling. And so each of us have different primary primary senses that are useful in the expression of our creativity. So the fact that you're one way or another is not a judgment about you or a limitation of you. It just guides you in the ways in which you can most effectively participate in this pollination of love, peace, joy, gratitude, and that which is beyond into the whole. And so there's no judgment of one talent or one gift as being more beneficial than another. This whole idea of competition really disappears when we understand that each person, each human being's creative expression is meant to be part of the whole. And so, since each expression is entirely unique, there is no such thing as a better than, or worse than, or more than, or less than. Every person, as they come into alignment, their natural creativity that is an expression of that alignment will appear as a contribution to the whole. And because all parts are welcome, both in the microcosm and the macrocosm, it will all be refined into its highest possible expression in this highest expression of the whole. So we need not worry about competition or comparison, or, you know, we have this talent but not that talent, and therefore we judge ourselves as less than. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to become in alignment, and the knowing of what the purpose of our life is naturally arises within us, and we follow that. And the knowing of how to proceed step by step in our creative awareness and expression becomes available to us from the inside. Everything about this is our internal expression and awareness. And as we cultivate this, we become more, and there is always more. How may we serve further? Michelle, I think I see a hand. Is that possible? Oh, no, that was an elbow. Sorry.
There's a question.
Okay.
So what would be your advice for those of us who work with young children to communicate to parents the most beneficial way to support children to process things that their parents are transmitting due to their own matrix of belief that has been put upon them? Maybe to repeat.
So the question is, for people who work with children, how do you relate to parents to minimize the effects of their matrix of belief on the children? We think this is really the question. We're paraphrasing. We hope that's right. Okay, thank you. So here's the thing. Every conversation that you have with every parent is going to be different based on your understanding of their matrix of belief. So as you approach these conversations, you ask open-ended questions. So you begin to see what the matrix of belief of the parents actually is. And you can ask the open-ended questions by referring to the child's behavior and saying, how do you feel about this? And you will begin to get feedback that will inform you about the parent's belief system. And so initially, your conversations, because in taking care of children, it's very important that you have flow with the parents. Otherwise, the children will not be participating for long. So in cultivating this flow with the parents, initially, you are just cultivating flow. You have no purpose except creating flow so that there is a giving and receiving of information, and you are available for that receiving. As you receive that information, you begin to form an opinion of where the matrix of belief is. They will show you very clearly, and the children will show you by their self-talk, which children can't hide what their matrix of belief is. So you will understand from the children what the parents' matrix of belief is. You do not directly address the matrix of belief of 85 percenters. And for those of you who don't know, 85 percenters are the 85% of the population, which is changing radically, these percentages, as humanity is evolving because of all the stressful situations that are happening at this time. And so we'll just say a little bit about that. All you have to do is look at your own life and the experiences that have transformed you the most to understand that when difficult things happen, we grow the most. Humanity is going through that right now. So the 85%, 15% equation is changing radically as we speak. But for people who live in the matrix of belief, which historically has been the 85%, we relate to them in a different way. We don't talk to them about pollination, about spirituality, about cultivating that which is beyond, because that is a language that has no meaning to them. And we understand that. And so we speak to them in the language of 85%, which means that we respect where they are and do not try to change it. So we develop within ourselves an understanding of how to speak in an 85% way that still transmits our message. But our expectation is we're going to say this a little differently. As conflicts begin to arise between the matrix of belief of the child and what you are teaching, this is a cue to you to go into the Annassa temple with the parent and speak to the parent's higher self and be very, very articulate about the matrix of belief and the cultivation of that which is beyond that you are attempting to do with a child. And so in the Annassa temple, you are in a protected space where you can speak directly to the conflict that you are experiencing. And then in the three-dimensional world, when you relate to that parent, you be very respectful of the 85%ness they are coming from, and you allow those two fields that you are trying to merge, the one that you go into the Annassa temple with and inform the parent, with the one, the 85% that you are respectfully creating flow with. And in that way, the child and the parent begin to inform each other about the state of being. And so this is how you participate delicately in all three arenas. Does that make sense to you? Does it seem possible? Oh, good. We're so happy to hear that. Okay. That's a very important question. These situations are tricky, especially with children and parents, because the only way we are going to inform children of this new reality is with the participation of their parents. And if their parents aren't ready, we have to be respectful of that. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Annassa Temple is a place that you can go in your life, in your meditation practice. You can go to an Annassa temple to speak to someone in your life with whom you cannot speak directly about spiritual practice because they don't have a matrix of belief that is ready to be informed in that way. So we don't even try once we understand that that is their perspective. Instead, we go to an Annassa temple. Before we go, we decide on 3, at the most 4 sentences that we want to say to their highest self. So we compose these sentences before we go. And these sentences are things that we say from our highest self to their highest self. And this is how we carefully compose it. We make sure that what we are saying before we go is going to be representative of our highest self. Then we go to the Annassa temple, which is a journey through a pine forest, and we see the temple. We cross a brook to get to it. We wash our feet. We make ourselves internally prepared before we walk in. When we enter the temple, which is a dome-shaped structure, it's 8-sided with a dome on top. We enter, we sit down. There are 2 chairs. We sit in one, and we invite the highest self of the person to come sit in the other chair. And we deliver our message from our highest self to their highest self. Then we allow them to leave. We thank them for coming. And we come back the way we came. An Annassa temple is a protected space where we can deliver our message from our highest self to their highest self. And then we can just watch and wait as that information permeates through their system. So we are always speaking from our highest self to their highest self in appreciation for the whole. And of course, underlying every message is our desire for their participation, their greater participation in their entire beingness. And so that's our fundamental request, that they become available to that in their own time and place. Because as we know from our own experience, the desire for more naturally arose in us at some point, and here we are. And so we welcome that desire to arise in everyone so that the whole can become more. We hope that answers your question. How may we serve further?
We have a follow-up on the children.
Yes.
question. And advice to the 15% parents, how can they support their children's processing? And when the 15% are aware that they are transmitting their matrix of belief but do not want to pass it on to their children. I don't know if I read that correctly.
Are we understanding this? You're asking about how the 15% parents can participate in the expansion of their children. And are we right that you're saying that not all 15% parents want their children to become 15%ers? Is that part of the question? No.
The second part says, well, I'll read it again. And advice for the 15% parents, how can they support their children's processing?
Okay. So for the 15% parents, it's very important that they learn to articulate to their children the 15%, 85% awareness, so that the children do not become targets of the 85% who can't imagine their beingness to be anything but their matrix of belief. And so it's part of the protection mechanism for 15%ers to learn that not all people think and experience the way they do. And so that, and as we're speaking, this percentage is changing. It's really changing. The tipping point has arrived. We're past 50-50 now. And so this language and experience of 15%ness is no longer going to be the minority as we come out of this COVID, earthquakes, fires, hurricanes. All these things that are happening in the world are challenging everyone's matrix of belief, and more people are turning inward to discover the truth of themselves. So this is a natural occurrence as all these traumas and dramas are acting out in front of us. We are becoming naturally more sensitive as human beings. So, but it is important for the 15% parents to teach their children that not everyone is comfortable with that way of understanding, and that they also, it's like teaching them another language, that some people have a matrix of belief that everything important happens outside of them, and that they have not yet learned that everything important happens inside of them. And so that those people have to be dealt with in a slightly different way, and that it's important to love and respect every human being where they are and whatever they believe, but that doesn't mean that you have to believe that same way. And especially as 15%ers begin to mature and have to operate in a capitalistic society, it becomes even more imperative that the flow between the parent and the child and the understanding of different belief systems becomes really articulated, so that the growing person has the awareness to participate in every experience without fear, without emotional judgment, without really allowing. And it's like a martial art to be able to be where you are and participate, and then be where you are and participate, even though you're in these various fields of more 85%ness and more 15%ness. And that the key thing is knowing where you are. And where you are has everything to do with what's outside of you, but where you are inside yourself doesn't ever need to change. And so it's learning that life is like becoming an Aikido master of knowing who you're speaking to and what their language is and what it means to them, instead of learning to be a chameleon to make everybody happy, which doesn't work for any of us. We've all tried that. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the usual 15% empathic response, is to feel that you need to make everybody else happy so that you can be happy. And so you become this people pleaser and you lose track of your own center. So this is what we want to avoid with 15%ers. We want them to have this sensitivity, but not necessarily be ruled by it. Let's say necessarily not ruled by it. We want them to be sensitive, but understand that they can say, whatever's not mine, please leave, and understand what is theirs, and what is theirs is theirs. The outside is not their responsibility. They need to please this first. And then whatever happens outside, they can deal with accordingly. But if you can save one child from becoming a people pleaser, you have done amazing work. Thank you so much for those questions. They're really, really, really helpful. How may we serve further? Okay, so it looks like time for our second meditation. So let's take our attention inside. And at the same time, we're inviting you to cultivate witness awareness at the same time by having your eyes open as you meditate. So take your attention inside, just below your belly button, and say into that space, just below your belly button, I am that. Feel for that which is beyond, between the breaths. That I am. Feel for that which is beyond, between the breaths. A few times at your own pace. Drop your attention down to the Earth Star chakra. I am that. That I am. As you're ready, bring your attention to your heart center. I am that. That I am. Take your attention to the center of your head, behind and between your eyebrows. I am that. That I am. As you're ready, take your attention to the soul star chakra at the top of your aura. I am that. That I am. Now, with your breath, take your attention from the soul star chakra down to the garden star chakra below the earth, and then from the garden star chakra below the earth to the soul star chakra at the top of the halo. Continue at your own pace with I am that. That I am. When you're ready, gently bring your attention back to the center below your belly button and think of 3 things that you're grateful for. We are so grateful for your participation today. Thank you so much. It's such a joy to be with you. Till next week. Bye for now.